Hi everyone, and welcome back to Coach TV. In this video, we're going to break down a 800-meter regional championship from a kid named Bryanna Rivers who graduated from her school a couple years ago. So let's get right to it. I am Kyle Giacono. I'm the head boys cross country and track coach at Wharton High School in Tampa, Florida, and I have been for the last 6 years. If you want a closer look at my credentials, they're on the screen. So let's talk a little bit about the 800 meters, the metrics behind the race before we look at the video itself. So the 800 meters, the combination of who's gonna win it is a combination of who has the best VO2 max over their running economy. So who's able to balance these two things: your 2-mile pace, or your fastest aerobic pace, and your overall economy, or probably your longer running aerobic pace, if you want to look at it that way. So 94.1% of the time, the person who has the best combination of those two is going to win the 800 meters. The reason why you can't look at any one metric is because there's just so many things can happen in the 800, including who has really good lactic tolerance, who has the best speed. Is it a sit and kick? Is it a race of a lot of 400-meter kids moving up or 2-milers moving down? So there's not one way you can predict it in the same way. It's very similar to the mile in that way. So in terms of your VO2 max, you run the 800 meters anywhere between 120 and 136% of your 2-mile pace. And the range is so big because so many different kids run the 800. This 120 would be from a kid moving down from the mile or the 2-mile. And 136% would be a kid who's more a 400-meter runner who is going to be moving up to run the 800. Bryanna, as we're going to talk about here in a second, is probably somewhere in between here. She's a classic 800-meter kid. She's pretty fast and she's pretty strong, so she's going to probably be at like 125 to 130 on this range. In terms of the energy supply, the 800 meters is going to get 10% of the energy from the ATP already in your muscles, and then the phosphocreatine system, the first 6 to 7 seconds, as well as your final kick. Anaerobic glycolytic, or your longer speed system, is going to be responsible for 30% of the energy. And then your aerobic system is responsible for 60% of the energy. So even though it's the fastest of these distance and mid-distance races, we're still going to be getting 60% or most of our energy from the aerobic system. So a little bit about Bryanna entering this race. She was the number 1 seed coming into this region based on her district time, but she was the number 3 seed based on season best times. And the 3 kids that are up to the front of this race are those 3 top kids. The week before at our district meet, she was easily first place in 219.17. Her 800 PR is substantially faster than that, 211.64, and that was from late March at the UF Relays. This race is going to be about a month after that. Bryanna is a type 1 800-meter runner. This is what we were talking about a second ago. She's very fast. She's got a lot of lactic tolerance. We'll look at her 400-meter PR here in a minute. Her issue comes in with, is she going to be strong enough to hold on for the second lap? And that's a really big emphasis we have with her, is her second lap. So that's her weakness, is her aerobic development, or her overall running economy. And that's really the training paradox when you're working with these kids. You don't want to take a super fast kid like Bryanna and make her too slow by overdoing this, but you can't let this weakness just sit there either. So it's how much to train. A type 2 800-meter kid would be a kid like a miler or a 2-miler moving down, who's very strong aerobically but just can't run a very fast 400, and you're going to want to get this a little bit stronger without hurting this part of their development in that situation. So earlier on the same day, about an hour or 90 minutes before Bryanna ran the mile, she ran 5:08.44 and placed 3rd. Her other PR to this point in the 400 was 56.91, probably about 3 weeks before this race, so she's pretty fast. Her mile PR is 5:04.80, which also came from UF Relays. And then her 5K in cross country was very respectable, 19:39, especially from a middle distance kid. So let's take a look at the race itself. Now, Bryanna is she's right here, right in the center as the number 1 seed. Now in Florida, we have 4 districts that feed into the region. So top 4 districts make it out, so 16 kids make it. These 2 kids are going to step out, so it's a rather small field for this, and we'll see how this kind of plays out here. It's a very, very strong field. In fact, let me stop it for one as we get over it, and I can show you the top kids in this race along with Bryanna. Bryanna is going to go to the front early. She has the inside position as they cut in. And the reason why we have Bryanna always go to the front earlier is because of her lactic tolerance and her overall speed. So the other kids who are the top 3 in this race is this young lady right here, Canaria Gadsden, and then this young lady right here, Bailey Hertenstein. So Bailey is a classic Type 2 kid. She's moving down from the mile 2 mile. And then KK, Canaria Gadsden, is actually probably more that 400-meter kid moving up. Bryanna's kind of right in the middle, so we're going to see all 3 different types of 800-meter kids running this race here as Bryanna goes to the front. One thing that does give Bryanna some trouble sometimes, and you'll notice as she gets closer, is she gets a little sloppy with her upper body, and we'll see that play out a little bit longer. She's okay right now, but you'll see her hands kind of get up on her a little bit. Actually, I think I misspoke. Canaria Gadsden is actually in 4th place right now. She's going to go up to the front a little bit later on this second lap. So she's in 1st place through 200. She's in 1st place through the second lap, or the 1st lap, I should say. This young lady is going to try and go to the outside in her, and Bryanna lets her. Bryanna really puts an emphasis on this last 300 meters. So you're going to see her kick to the outside as KK and Bailey kind of separate from the rest of the field and run by this young lady who is probably going a little faster than she should have been. And then right here, you see Bryanna kicks back to the inside and really starts to turn on the jets from about 280. And then Bailey just goes with her. This is a 2-miler moving down. She's going to have a lot to give in this tank. Now, you see it right here especially where Bryanna is getting high on her hand, and you'll see that Bailey right here is a little bit more fluid motion. She's more used to the end of these races because she is so strong. She was I believe a 3-time cross-country state champion, multiple state titles in the mile and the 2 mile. She also eventually won an 800 state championship too. And you'll just see how Bryanna as a Type 1 is kind of holding on at the end here, where this kid who's a Type 2 is going to be a little bit more comfortable at the end of the race. Bryanna definitely has the speed advantage on Bailey. And there's almost a tactical mistake that's made here by Bryanna on this last 100 meters. You'll notice she will slide to her right and gives an opening for Bailey that she almost exploits here in the last 100, giving up the inside position. Right here, Bree just moves a little bit to the outside. Bailey tries to take it, takes the lead for just a second. Bryanna has that little more quickness and actually gets her by a very small margin at the end. A 2:13 race here, or well, let's actually take a look at exactly what happened overall. Fantastic finish by both these young ladies. So here's the race breakdown. Bryanna did end up winning. She went to the front early, and she used her speed. As you saw, she pretty much was leading from 150 in. She established the inside position through the first 400 meters, and went to the outside again as the young lady passed her as that second lap was starting to set up her final kick. As we mentioned, she's a little sloppy in her upper body, her high arms, but not too bad, especially for a kid that's that classic shorter kid trying to make it through these 800 meters. She did give up the inside position in the last 100, allowing an opening, but she still had enough speed, enough quickness, and she won by actually 1/1000th of a second. The race breakdown, it was 2:13.81. She ended up winning. Her first 200 was in 30 seconds, which was the overall fastest of the race, which is what you expect from an 800. Lap 1 was in 64 seconds, and lap 2 was in 69 seconds. We try to get her to shrink that to about 3 seconds. When Bryanna's really going well, it's about 3 seconds on hers, but it's not too bad, especially with how quick it ended up going out. So that's the breakdown of Bryanna's regional championship. I've got a couple more videos of this young lady that I'll be posting in the next little bit. If you like this video, please think about liking or subscribing to the channel. If you have any comments, please leave them down below. And until next time, this has been Coachy TV.